Hi, in today's video I'm going to be covering how you can bind the media keys on your keyboard to the playerctl commands that I showed you in a previous video. Now we're going to be doing this using the sxhkd simple hotkey daemon, and if I come across to this page here, this is playerctl. And basically it's a command line application that works with dbus, and it can send commands to play, pause, mute the audio, go to the next item or previous item in a playlist. And it works with programs like Firefox, Chromium, VLC. And so basically it allows you to type a command like playerctl pause on the command line, and it will pause a video playing in Firefox like YouTube. And we can install this with sudo apt install playerctl. And in the previous video I showed you how you can get this working with Firefox and FireJail, and also how you could set up zsh completions. But what I've noticed is, at least on Ubuntu 20.04, enabling the fpath option for custom zsh completions really slowed down my terminal, so I've actually commented this out. So I'm just going to be using this with keyboard shortcuts instead of the command line. So that's the playerctl application, and as I said, it works with Firefox, Chromium, VLC, Spotify, and several other applications. And what we're going to be doing is using this simple hotkey daemon to bind our media keys on our keyboard to commands like play, pause, mute audio. So what I'm going to do is just come across to YouTube, and what I'm going to do is open a video in a playlist. Okay, what I'm going to do here is open the video.
All right.
And I can press a keyboard hotkey now to play and pause this video, so I can
This one's gonna be on
and pause it with a simple hotkey, even when the YouTube video isn't focused. I'm focused on another window. What I can also do is, because this video is in a playlist, and you can see that from the URL here, watch video and list, I can use the previous and next commands with playerctl to go to the next or previous item in the playlist. So if you check here, you can see the page, the video we're on. So I can press a keyboard shortcut to move to the next video, and pause that, go to the next one.
This one's gonna be on these.
Next one, pause that. So this works even if, as I said, you're not focused on the browser. So that's the advantage, is that you can just press a keyboard shortcut and play to pause or play a YouTube video, or move to the next or previous item in the playlist. So what I'll do now is show you how you can set up the sxhkd keyboard daemon and get it to actually work with playerctl. So this is the Arch Wiki page about this, and what I'm going to do is switch across to Emacs here and go through my notes about how you get this set up. So the first step is obviously installing sxhkd, and we can do that by running sudo apt install sxhkd. Now once we've done that, what we need to do is create the configuration file, the configuration directory and file. So what you need to do is create the directory .config sxhkd. So that's going to be in our home folder .config, create the sxhkd directory. And in that directory, what we need to do is create a file called sxhkdrc. So as you can see in that directory, I have this configuration file here. So that's creating the file. and now the next step is actually adding the configuration. So what I'm going to do is actually I'll open that here. So the hash symbols are just a comment. So this is the command to increase the volume. So on your keyboard, you'll have typically F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, F6 will be sort of media keys. F1 will be mute. F2 will be decrease the audio. F3 will be to raise the level. So raise audio volume will be F3. Decrease the volume will be F2, and mute the audio will be F1. And then play, if you you should see the symbols on your keyboard. Play is going to be F5. Next will be F6, and previous will be F4. And I can't remember what the actual stop. I may not have a stop key on my keyboard for this, but at the bottom of this also, what I've done is I have a Ducky 1.2 mini keyboard, and what I've done is mapped some of the keys to play, pause, and next and previous. So the Ducky 1.2 mini keyboard has the MK, the mute key is function and M, and the decrease volume is function and comma, and increase volume is function and period. But it doesn't actually have the built-in media keys for previous, play, and next. So what I'm using is zero. Function and zero is actually pause. Function and semicolon is next, and function and P is prior. So those are the keys I'm actually mapping to play, pause, next, and previous. And if I just shift back up here, what I want to do is just go through these commands. So we've got increase volume, and that's using a mixer to set the master volume by 10%. And what we're doing here is setting the standard output to dev null, because otherwise what it would be doing is it would actually print a message to the terminal, like increased volume or something. And same deal with the lower volume, we're using a mixer. And also to mute the audio here, we're using a mixer. But for the play, next, and previous, we're using playerctl. So we're mapping playerctl play pause to audio play. Next, audio next is playerctl next, and then we've got obviously audio previous is mapped to previous, and stop is mapped to stop. So that's how you can map either the mixer commands or playerctl commands to keyboard shortcuts. And once you've done that, basically what you need to do after you've created the configuration file is actually start sxhkd, and you can do that by running the command with an ampersand at the end in the terminal to run it in the background. But also there's a list here on the Arch wiki of ways you can start it if you're using a like a desktop environment. So for example, here there's a section you may want to use auto start. There's a way to use systemd, but there's also a way to create a sort of auto start desktop file, which will work with your window manager, your desktop, not your window manager. If you're using a window manager, like I'm using xmonad, the way I'd start it is down here, my startup hook. So with xmonad, you'd do something like spawn once sxhkd ampersand to start the keyboard daemon. Or if you're using something else, you could put it in your xinit.rc. But once you've got it running and you've got the configuration set up, basically you can control. I don't know what keeps doing this. Okay, here's the. I did want to. Is the. Oh, I thought it was going to let me select the picture window there. So I just come across here. I just want to pop one of these videos out as a. I don't know why it's coming up so big. So I can press keyboard shortcuts to.
All right, this one's gonna be on
pause that.
Search engine aliases that you can do with W.
Play it, but because this video is not in a playlist, you won't be able to do next item, previous item in a playlist. As I said, what you need to do is come across something with a playlist.
This one's gonna be on a command line torrent client called.
And I can now just press the keyboard shortcut. This also works if it's popped out in picture-in-picture. So you can see it's in picture-in-picture, and I can go to the next item in the playlist, and it's going to reload the page and play the next video. The previous video. You get the idea. So that's basically how you can set up keyboard shortcuts for your media keys to play, pause, mute the audio, go to the next or previous item. And so it works with Firefox, Chromium, VLC. I've tested. Doesn't work with MPV, and there's maybe some other programs, but it also works with things like Spotify. And again, we're using this sxhkd hotkey daemon that was by the developer of BSPWM, which is a tiling window manager. And it's really easy to set up, as I said. And if you have a look through this, you can also actually configure multiple commands to run, so you can actually get it to run multiple commands with a single press of a keyboard shortcut, which looks quite interesting. So that's the keyboard shortcut daemon. These were the notes again. Basically, you install it, create the configuration directory and the configuration file. And then we've got the configuration file here to raise the volume level, lower it, mute it. And what you can do is you can use xev to see if I can get it working. You type xev in the terminal. I can't remember. It should be installed by default. Otherwise, you can search for it in your package manager. But when you press a keyboard shortcut, I don't know why it's not working here. Maybe it's because I'm running OBS at the same time. It's not not getting the key presses or something. But when you're on xev, you press a keyboard, something on the keyboard, it should. Here we go. Yeah, okay. If I can get this working.
So it's gonna be on a script to get multiple block lists, because by default
you should be able to get the.
They don't have a, they do have a block list feature.
The actual name of the key press. It should basically come up with stuff like this. The name of the key press would be something like audio lower volume or raise volume. I think it's just because I'm running OBS Studio or something that it's not picking up the key presses or something, so that I can show them. But you could that's how you can find the names of these sort of key presses, for the media keys on your keyboard, and then you can basically map those to a particular command. And here again is the section. You probably won't want this if you don't have a ducky 1-2 mini keyboard. So if you don't have, if you're just using a regular keyboard, just remove this section. That's just for my my keyboard, and basically that's how you can run the daemon in the background. And again, on this page here, there's more information and also how you can set it to auto start. And the program we were using was the playerctl command, and that basically allows you to let me just find want to press any video that will be copyright or anything. So let me just CTL.
All right, this one's gonna be on search engine aliases.
Pause. But you can do this on the command line, and as I showed you, and in the previous video I showed you how you can set up ZSH completions in this section here. But as I said, what I found is enabling the fpath in my ZSH RC file slowed down opening the terminal up for some reason. So I've actually commented this out. If you don't have an issue, you can leave it. But if you're having an issue with the terminal suddenly being really slow, comment this out, and we can just use the keyboard shortcuts instead, which is sort of much more convenient. So that's the keyboard daemon site, and this is the playerctl site, which is github.com alt-desktop playerctl, and it says for true players only, VLC, MPV, Rhythmbox, web browsers. It lists MPV and MPD, but I've tried them and by default it didn't work. I think you've got to actually install a sort of another program, because it uses something called MPRIS, dbus interface specification, and NCMPC or MPV didn't work. And I think there may be something listed down here. No players found. I don't know. There was something here about using it with other players. I don't know. Maybe there's something that. Yeah, that was it here. Was this it? There was one for specifically for MPD written in Go, but I think it required you to download half a gig of Go libraries. So probably don't want to use that. But this is the page for this program, and these are all the commands you can actually run. As I said, you can map those commands to keyboard shortcuts using the sxhkd keyboard daemon. So that's how you can map your media keys to control videos running in, Chromium or Firefox. So I'll just open up Chromium and show you the same thing works. Let's come across to DistroTube and open up a video in a playlist, and then just
one of my
so what I'll do here is I'll just for some reason it stopped
What
working
are the best
now.
applications available on Linux? Today I'm going to go over my top 12 Linux apps that I think everyone should know about. Now, this top 12 list that I'm going to go over today, this will include applications that are mainly for the casual Linux desktop user, but I will throw in one or two apps that are built with the power user in mind. One other thing to note is that my top 12 Linux app list will include only free and open source software. After all, whether many of us realize it or not, the big reason that we left the proprietary closed source operating system. One of my favorite tiling window managers of all time is DWM. That's Suckless's dynamic window.
I don't know why that's not working now. It does work with Chromium because I tried it before. So let me just switch back to Firefox. See if it's working in Firefox. It may just be a bit flaky in Chromium. Okay, let's see if this works.
The early days of the World
so it's working okay in Firefox.
A common term that
so suddenly, for some reason, it was being glitchy in Chromium. That may be because it's a Snap application or something, which is sort of like sandboxed, or that may be an issue. But it also works with VLC. Hi, in today's video, I'm going to be play and pause it. And if I had stuff in a playlist, I could go next. So it does work with Firefox and VLC, but it seems to be a bit flaky with Chromium. And again, I'll put links to the steps here. Getting this set up. Basically, it's just we're installing the sxhkd application. We created the configuration file, the directory, and then created the configuration file. And then basically we obviously have to put something in the configuration file. That's the config. And then basically you start it in the background, either in the terminal or in your xinit.rc, or using an auto start if you're using a desktop like GNOME or something. And once you've done that, you'll be able to control videos in your browser using the simple hotkey. And I said I did have the fpath enabled for zsh completions, but what I've done is commented that out, because what I found is basically it would make the terminal take about a second or two to load up, whereas loads like that. But if I enabled the fpath, each time I open a terminal, it would hang like it was loading something for about a second or two. So I've basically disabled the auto completions for the playerctl command with fpath, because it was slowing down the terminal, and I'm just basically using the keyboard shortcuts instead. So again, this is the config file, and you can find these with xev, but they should be the keys are basically F1, F2, F3 for mute audio, decrease the level, increase the level. F4 is going to be previous item in the playlist. F5 play, pause, and F6 is next item. I don't think there's a stop button, a media stop button on my keyboard. And basically you can also chain multiple commands together as well, I think. But as I said, we're using the mixer command here to set the volume, and we're redirecting the standard output to dev null so it doesn't display anything in the terminal. And then for the play next and previous, we're using the playerctl command, which, as I showed you, will allow you to control applications playing video and audio. And if I just come back across to Firefox, in a previous video I showed you how you can see if there are players available. What I'll just do is come across here, pause that, and bring up the terminal. So if you run playerctl with the -L option, it's going to show you the if there's a player available. If I close Firefox here, I'm on the same command. It says no players were found. So if I open Chromium again, so it's saying no players found. I think that's because it's not got a it hasn't started playing anything.
Operating.
So if I open up a video again, see now here it's saying Chromium instance. Let me try the keyboard shortcut.
Systems
okay,
like
now
Windows
the
and
keyboard
Mac OS
shortcut's working.
to come over to Linux.
For some reason,
is primarily
to
because
be a bit
Linux
buggy
is
in Chromium when I was demoing it before. Let's see if the playlists will work.
dynamic window.
Okay, so see if the next and previous. Okay,
I can't help but
that seems to be working. Go to next and previous. That may just be
you've created a strong and complicated
some conflict when I was doing something, you know, sod's law. When you're doing a demo, it doesn't work. But yeah, it seems to be working okay with Chromium. And I said you can you get what's the
password for your computer. But what good
how you do
is
the
that
pop-up
strong
on
and complicated
Chromium?
password?
That's weird. So let's see if this works with picture-in-picture as well. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make a quick video.
Okay, so the picture-in-picture
Here lately,
is
I've
also
been in
working
the mood to rise my desktop
with the keyboard shortcuts as well. But that the next and previous only work if you're viewing a video in a playlist. So that's how you use the playerctl command to see what players are available. And as showed you, even if you just open the browser, it may show no players are available. So you've actually got to start playing a video in something like YouTube, and then it will say, you know, Chromium instance or Firefox instance, and then you'll be able to control it. So that's how you can set up the media keys on your keyboard to control videos playing in Firefox, YouTube, VLC, Spotify, etc. And also how you can basically use the sxhkd keyboard hotkey daemon thing and add your own commands in there. So have a look at the man page for both playerctl. I'm just going to give you the options. It'll automatically pick up the player, but you can also specify a player to use, ignore players, and you can list. You can also send a command to all the players, so you can say stop, you know, to all your video and audio players at once. And then there's the sxhkd, and this will basically give you a bit of information about using that and you know, setting up the config. And as it says here, by default it reads configuration file from xdg_config_home, and that's basically .config in your home folder. And it shows you sxhkd, the directory you need to create, and the configuration file is sxhkdrc. And so that's how you set up the keyboard shortcuts. And this is the config file. And yeah, it's very easy to use. And you can also, as I said, set it up to map commands that aren't the media keys. So my keyboard doesn't have the media keys. It has the mute, increase and decrease volume, but it doesn't have you know, next, previous, and play. So you can also map you know, other keys. You could remap, you know, like page up and page down or something, to you know, to next and previous item and playlist or something. And again, you can find those keys using xev. So that's how you can set everything up and just make it easy to control your video player using keyboard shortcuts on